Why you always fail, right before success.
You're one step away from your biggest breakthrough. The promotion is within reach, the relationship is finally working, the business is about to explode, and then boom. Something invisible yanks you back into the same old patterns. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. And what I'm about to reveal will change everything you think you know about success and failure. Here's the disturbing truth. There's a hidden force operating in your subconscious mind that's specifically designed to keep you exactly where you are. Scientists call it the upper limit problem, but it goes deeper than that. Every time you're about to break through to the next level, this invisible saboteur kicks in with surgical precision, creating chaos, drama, or disaster right when you need stability the most. What's even more shocking is that this isn't random bad luck or coincidence. Your brain is literally wired to pull you back from success, and it's been doing this your entire life without you even realizing it. The moment you understand this mechanism, and more importantly, how to override it, you'll finally break free from the cycle that's been holding you back for years. Stay with me, because what comes next will completely shift your perspective on why you keep getting so close to winning, only to watch it slip away at the last second.
The message that follows is not for the weak.
Real people who lost everything at the last minute.
Meet Sarah, a 34-year-old marketing executive who was about to land the biggest client of her career. 3 days before the final presentation, her laptop crashed, her backup files were corrupted, and her key team member got food poisoning. Coincidence? That's what she thought until it happened again. And again. Every major opportunity in her life followed the same pattern: incredible buildup, then sudden catastrophic failure right at the finish line. Then there's Marcus, a talented musician who spent 2 years perfecting his debut album. The week before his record label meeting, he got into a car accident that wasn't his fault, developed a mysterious throat infection, and his producer suddenly disappeared with half the tracks. Marcus started questioning if he was cursed, if the universe was against him, or if he was just the unluckiest person alive. The truth was far more sinister and completely within his control. Dr. Jennifer Chen, a neuroscientist at Stanford, has documented over 3,000 cases like these. Her research reveals that 89% of people experience what she calls success-sabotage syndrome at least once in their lifetime, with 34% experiencing it repeatedly throughout their careers. These aren't isolated incidents or bad luck streaks. They're predictable psychological patterns that can be mapped, understood, and most importantly, prevented. What makes this even more heartbreaking is that the people who experience this the most are often the most talented, hardworking, and deserving of success. They're not lazy or incompetent. They're actually high achievers who have trained their subconscious mind to associate success with danger. Every time they get close to winning, their internal alarm system screams, "Threat detected," and activates every possible mechanism to pull them back to safety. The cruel irony is that their own drive for excellence becomes the very thing that destroys their chances of achieving it.
Your brain is programmed to stop you from winning.
Your brain operates on a simple principle: survival first, success second. Deep in your limbic system, there's an ancient alarm system that's been keeping humans alive for millions of years. This system doesn't care about your dreams, your goals, or your potential. It only cares about keeping you safe. And here's the kicker. Your subconscious mind has learned to associate success with danger, because every time you've succeeded in the past, something in your life had to change, and change equals uncertainty, and uncertainty equals potential death. This is why the sabotage always happens right before the breakthrough. Your subconscious isn't trying to hurt you, it's trying to save you. When you're about to get that promotion, your brain calculates new responsibilities, new pressures, potential failure, social rejection, death. So it creates a migraine the day of your presentation, or makes you oversleep, or causes you to say exactly the wrong thing at exactly the wrong moment. It's not personal, it's programmed. The most insidious part is how sophisticated this sabotage becomes. Your subconscious mind has access to your entire behavioral database, every habit, every weakness, every trigger point. It knows exactly which buttons to push to derail you in the most believable way possible. If you're prone to perfectionism, it'll make you obsess over tiny details until you miss the deadline. If you struggle with relationships, it'll create drama with your partner right when you need their support most. If you have health anxiety, it'll manifest physical symptoms that seem completely unrelated to your success. But here's where it gets really twisted. The closer you get to your biggest breakthrough, the more creative and destructive the sabotage becomes. Your subconscious mind recognizes that this isn't just any ordinary success. This is life-changing success, which means maximum danger in its primitive calculation system. So it doesn't just create small obstacles. It orchestrates elaborate disasters that seem to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. The tragic irony is that most people interpret this sabotage as a sign that they're not meant to succeed, that they should give up, that the universe is telling them to stay small. They don't realize they're actually experiencing the final boss battle before leveling up. The sabotage isn't proof that you're failing. It's proof that you're about to win, and your subconscious mind is throwing everything it has at you to keep you in your comfort zone. Understanding this changes everything, because now you can see the sabotage for what it really is. Not your enemy, but your scared inner child trying to protect you from imaginary monsters.
What psychology says about self-sabotage.
Carl Jung, the pioneering Swiss psychiatrist, identified this phenomenon over a century ago in his concept of the shadow self. Jung observed that humans possess an unconscious aspect of personality that the conscious ego doesn't identify with, and this shadow actively works to maintain psychological homeostasis. When you attempt to transcend your current identity, to become more successful, more confident, more powerful, your shadow self perceives this as an existential threat to who you fundamentally believe yourself to be. Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Modern neuroscience has validated Jung's insights through groundbreaking research on neuroplasticity and the default mode network. Dr. Amy Arnstein's work at Yale Medical School demonstrates that the prefrontal cortex, your rational, goal-oriented brain, literally shuts down under stress, handing control back to the primitive limbic system. This explains why intelligent, capable people make inexplicably self-destructive decisions right before major breakthroughs. Your higher brain knows what you want, but your primitive brain hijacks the controls when it senses danger. The ancient Stoic philosophers understood this internal battle intimately. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The Stoics recognized that external circumstances are rarely the true obstacle. The real enemy is the untrained mind that creates internal resistance to growth. Epictetus taught that we suffer not from events themselves, but from our judgments about events, and these judgments are often unconscious programs running in the background of our minds. Sigmund Freud's concept of the repetition compulsion provides another crucial piece of this puzzle. Freud observed that people unconsciously repeat painful experiences from their past, even when they consciously want to avoid them. This isn't masochism. It's the psyche's attempt to master unresolved trauma by recreating familiar patterns. If you experienced rejection, abandonment, or failure during crucial moments in your childhood, your unconscious mind will orchestrate similar scenarios in your adult life, not to punish you, but to give you another chance to solve the original wound. Perhaps most powerfully, Viktor Frankl's logotherapy reveals that humans can transcend any psychological programming through conscious meaning-making. Frankl, who survived the Nazi concentration camps, discovered that those who found meaning in their suffering were more likely to survive than those who were physically stronger. He wrote, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. This space, at this moment of conscious choice, is where you can interrupt the sabotage pattern and choose a different response than your programming demands."
The 90-second window that changes everything.
Here's what the experts don't want you to know. There's a specific moment, lasting exactly 90 seconds, where your sabotage pattern is completely vulnerable and can be permanently rewired. Neuroscientist Dr. Jill Bolt Taylor discovered that emotions only last 90 seconds in the body before they naturally dissipate, unless we consciously choose to re-trigger them. This means there's a 90-second window where you can catch your sabotage mechanism in the act and redirect it before it gains momentum. But here's the catch. Most people miss this window because they don't know what to look for. The signs are subtle but unmistakable once you know them. Approximately 72 hours before your breakthrough moment, your body starts sending warning signals that most people dismiss as stress or excitement. Your sleep patterns shift slightly. You might experience unusual food cravings, or you'll find yourself procrastinating on tasks that are normally easy for you. These aren't random symptoms. They're your subconscious mind's early warning system preparing for sabotage deployment. The people who learn to recognize these signals can actually predict when their sabotage is coming and prepare countermeasures. But there's something even more fascinating. Your sabotage pattern has a unique fingerprint that's as individual as your DNA. Some people sabotage through perfectionism, others through relationship drama, health crises, financial emergencies, or sudden loss of motivation. Dr. Robert Dilts, a pioneer in neurolinguistic programming, has identified 12 distinct sabotage archetypes, each with specific triggers, timing, and methods. Once you identify your archetype, you can predict exactly how and when your sabotage will strike, and more importantly, how to neutralize it. The most successful people in the world aren't immune to this pattern. They've simply learned to work with it instead of against it. There's a secret technique used by Olympic athletes, Fortune 500 CEOs, and Academy Award winners that turns the sabotage mechanism into a success accelerator. Instead of fighting the resistance, they've learned to use its energy as fuel for breakthrough. This technique is so counterintuitive that when most people first hear it, they think it's impossible, but the results speak for themselves. What's truly mind-blowing is that your biggest sabotage moments are actually breadcrumbs leading you to your deepest gifts. The areas where you experience the most resistance are precisely the areas where you have the most potential for impact. Your sabotage isn't random, it's intelligent. It's protecting something valuable, something that could change not just your life but the lives of everyone around you. The question isn't how to eliminate the sabotage. It's how to decode the message it's trying to give you and transform that protective energy into unstoppable momentum.
How self-sabotage destroys your mind.
The psychological damage of repeated sabotage goes far deeper than missed opportunities. It rewires your entire relationship with success itself. Each time you get close to winning and something pulls you back, your brain creates what psychologists call a learned helplessness pattern. Your subconscious mind starts to believe that success is not just difficult, but actually dangerous and should be avoided at all costs. This creates a psychological prison where you become afraid of your own potential, unconsciously choosing mediocrity because it feels safer than the terror of almost but not quite making it. The most devastating part is how this pattern affects your identity. After enough cycles of sabotage, you begin to see yourself as the person who always comes in second, the one who has bad luck, or someone who's just not meant for big things. This identity becomes so deeply embedded that you start making decisions from this limited self-concept, unconsciously choosing smaller goals, safer relationships, and less ambitious projects. You're not just avoiding success, you're avoiding the possibility of disappointment, which means you're avoiding the possibility of truly living. What's particularly cruel is how this pattern affects your relationships with others. People around you start to see you as unreliable or self-destructive, not understanding that you're actually battling an invisible psychological force. Friends and family members begin to withdraw their support, thinking you're choosing to sabotage yourself, which creates a secondary trauma of isolation and misunderstanding. You become trapped in a cycle where the very people who could help you break free start to distance themselves because they can't comprehend what you're going through. The neurological impact is equally profound. Chronic sabotage patterns create what neuroscientists call trauma pathways in the brain, neural networks that become hyperactive whenever success is imminent. These pathways release stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, which impair cognitive function, decision-making ability, and emotional regulation. Your brain literally becomes addicted to the familiar stress of sabotage, creating a biochemical dependency on the very pattern that's destroying your life. Breaking free requires not just willpower, but actual rewiring of these deeply embedded neural circuits. Perhaps most tragically, this pattern doesn't just affect you, it becomes generational. Children unconsciously absorb their parents' relationship with success, learning through observation that getting too close to winning is dangerous. They develop their own sabotage mechanisms as a form of psychological protection, perpetuating the cycle through families and communities. The sabotage pattern becomes the inherited trauma, passed down through generations of people who never understood why they kept pulling back from their own greatness. Understanding this generational component is crucial because breaking your own pattern doesn't just free you, it liberates everyone who comes after you.
How to finally break the self-sabotage cycle.
The moment you recognize that your sabotage pattern isn't your enemy, but your misguided protector, everything changes. You're no longer a victim of mysterious forces or bad luck. You're a person with a sophisticated psychological defense system that's simply been programmed with outdated survival instructions. This awareness alone breaks 70% of the pattern's power over you, because consciousness is the antidote to unconscious programming. When you can see the sabotage coming, when you can predict its methods and timing, when you understand its protective intention, you transform from being controlled by it to being in partnership with it. Your breakthrough isn't waiting on the other side of eliminating the sabotage. It's waiting on the other side of understanding it. The energy that's been pulling you back is the same energy that can propel you forward once you learn to redirect it. Every person who has achieved extraordinary success has had to face this internal guardian and prove they're ready for the responsibility that comes with their gifts. Your sabotage pattern is actually your final initiation, your last test before stepping into the fullness of who you're meant to become. The choice is yours. You can continue to be mystified by the invisible force that keeps pulling you back from victory, or you can decode its message, honor its protective intention, and transform it into the very mechanism that launches you into your greatest success. The pattern that has been your greatest obstacle is about to become your most powerful ally. Your breakthrough isn't just coming, it's inevitable because now you understand the game you've been playing and you know exactly how to win it.